you away. And the happiness that I let it away. Champagne every day. You were so in love with me. I played around like I was free. I could have my cake and eat it too. How I cried over you. See, I'm doing it all. I ain't about to go living my life without you. Hey, every day I made you cry. I made you girl. Every day I night, I'll be working my way back to you, babe. With a burning love inside. Yeah, I'm working my way back to you, babe. And the happiness that I let you work. Been playing every day. Oh, I used to love to make you cry. It made me feel like a man inside. If I had been a man in reality, you would be here, baby, loving me. Now my nights are long and lonely, and I ain't too proud that my best thing you saw. Well, but don't you doubt and won't give in. But when I think about all I could give, I'll keep working my way back to you, babe, with a burning love inside. Yeah, I'm working my way back to you, babe, and the happiness that I let it get away. All right, what is up, everyone? I am ND Sean 45.
And I am Ryan, Week Zero Productions, Fravel.
And this is another edition of the Notre Dame Football Power Hour. Welcome aboard. We are actually coming to you 40 minutes early than we usually do. So I don't know, Ryan, is that so you can prepare for Lucas's report on his dating life?
I wish, man, but got Notre Dame basketball starts tonight. Actually, I think they play at 6 tonight. Opening game against Radford, so
Yep, I did know that.
They should be able to handle business. I'm excited to see what that 5-star kid JJ Starling can do. I believe he's the highest rated basketball recruit in Notre Dame basketball history. So he's got a lot of high expectations. But nevertheless, I also am going to see Black Panther 2 with my fiance. So at 7. So, like I said, if we could be off here by 6:20, that'd be perfect.
In other words, let's hurry our ass up and get this done, right?
Everybody get your effing comments in the comment section.
What does that say? What does that say about our audience that we have to hurry off? All one person that's watching right now.
No, we love comments, man. We love comments.
All right, so getting right into conversation here. So I know we've done the Clemson recap and the Navy recap, but man, I'm still on a little
riding
bit of
high.
Yeah, I'm still riding high from the Clemson game, man. I don't know about you, but
it doesn't even feel like it's been. What has it been? 4 days now?
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it. It feels like it was yesterday. It's just weird.
Well, I think when you have that adrenaline rush, and it was just such a dominating performance. It stays with you for a little while, and of course that was the best game that the Fighting Irish have played all season long.
It definitely has been. Definitely has been. You know what else, Sean? This might be a stretch because I think 2012 Oklahoma was also a pretty dominant performance.
Oh yeah.
But I honestly think that might have been the best Notre Dame game I've ever seen as a Notre Dame fan. Just because of the quality of opponent, the way we won. I mean, you don't get to see Notre Dame many times blow out a top 4 team.
No.
I think people said the last time that happened when an unranked Notre Dame team kicked the crap out of top 4 team was, I believe, early 2000s against Michigan. So
No, we didn't. Well,
I believe that's what people were saying at least.
early 2000s. The in 2002 we beat Michigan and they were, I forget their exact rank, maybe
I think that might
7
have
or
been
8,
it.
but it wasn't a dominating performance. I mean, it came down to
Or maybe the last time Notre Dame beat a top, I don't remember. It was something like that.
well,
But
technically I know, see, a lot of people like to discredit this, but the last time we beat a top 4 team was
it was
Clemson,
22. Yep.
number one Clemson, but people don't like to count that. And
Well, I like counting it, but what I mean is like it's not it's very rare in college football in general for a team that's a top 4 team to get
oh,
embarrassed on national
you're
TV.
talking about just us dominating them
Yes,
completely.
I don't know if I've ever seen that from Notre Dame.
Um,
Like I said, Oklahoma was close, but that game was still kind of in question going into the third quarter.
yeah,
Notre Dame,
we didn't pull away until the fourth quarter.
yeah. This game, there was no doubt in my mind that Notre Dame, from the minute we blocked that punt and took it in for 6, I was like, "There's no way in hell we lose this game.
No,
No way."
when you get the tempo started like that, I mean, and you get the momentum in your corner right from the start. I mean, yeah, you know, things are going to go your way, most of the time anyway. Um, but I know, I don't know. I'm trying to think of when we dominated a top 4 opponent like that. Like I mean, I know we beaten them, of course,
Hmm.
but actually dominating them like that. I mean, I could say Utah in 2010 because I was at that game, but they weren't a top 4 team,
Yeah,
the Utes that year.
I mean, it's weird because like I just don't remember a game ever feeling like this, or just like being so satisfied with a win. I mean, okay, I know we're talking about some idiotic fans here, but you know when people that bitch and complain about when Notre Dame wins and
Oh,
they
the
finally
one
shut
percent,
yeah,
yes.
they finally shut the fuck up and say, "Hey, Notre Dame looked good tonight." That just tells you how good a performance that was. Now, on the flip side, you still have people that'll say, "Oh, Clemson wasn't that good." Okay, you know what? Shut the hell up. Shut the hell up, because you know what? You obviously, because those same people that say, "Oh, Clemson wasn't that good," said that Notre Dame was going to get blown out by Clemson. So I don't want to hear, "Oh, Clemson wasn't that good." They obviously were good enough to you, thinking that they were going to come and beat Notre Dame by 21.
Well, you're exact. I see where you're getting, and I know where you're coming from because I guarantee you. Now, for starters, we were hearing a bunch how Clemson was just going to beat us to hell by 50 points or whatever, and all that stuff, and it was plenty by our own fans too. By what that the 1%.
And you know what's weird? A lot of Clemson fans, because I have a buddy that's a Clemson fan. Um, they were worried about this game. They were. He told me when the minute the game started, even before the punt return, he said, "I just had." He said, "Man, we've gotten lucky this year. Sometimes we probably should have lost to Wake Forest. We probably should have lost to Syracuse." And he told me after the game, he goes, "Man, it was just a matter of time before we got exposed on national
Well,
TV."
Clemson had been living dangerously all season long, but
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't mean they're not a good team. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they look. I don't care what people say. If you do something to earn the ranking that you get, then so what? So what if you've been winning close games, living dangerously? You've been getting it done. That's what counts at the end of those 60 minutes.
Mm-hmm. And you know
And
what?
and
I think, Sean, we can both agree this Clemson team isn't, Deshaun Watson Clemson, and it isn't Trevor Lawrence Clemson. But you know what? They still have the same guys on defense from that 2020 Clemson team that went to the playoff and
yeah,
almost went to the national title. So it's not like, and DJ's had an off. He's been, had his ups and downs since 2020. But you can't tell me that guy goes anywhere else and he's not a starting quarterback. And if he goes to if he was at Notre Dame right now, he'd probably be our starting quarterback. Um, I don't know. They're not the Clemson of the past, but they were still the number 4 ranked team in the country. That 12 people that we trust, we can disagree with the committee all we want, but we are trusting to get the best 4 teams into a playoff. The committee thought they were the number 4 team in the country. You can't take that away from Notre Dame just because Notre Dame beat the crap out of them and all of a sudden Clemson isn't this good. Because you know what would have happened? If Clemson would have beat Notre Dame, say Clemson beats us by 21, people would have said, oh, well, you know what? Here it is again. Notre Dame gets embarrassed against a top 5 team. And they just can't win those games.
And that's what I was waiting for out of that 1% of our fan base or the cancerous element that I call them. They were saying all week and even long before that we were just going to get our butts kicked and lose by 30 or 40. And now that we beat them, now that we beat Clemson and pretty handily, they're saying exactly that. Oh, well, Clemson really wasn't that good of a team.
You see it by ESPN. And ESPN does the same thing.
Yes. And they just like to play it to their advantage. It basically comes down to not wanting to give Notre Dame any credit for what they did. And of course, because of the 2 bad losses that we've had, they're like, oh, this must be a fluke since Notre Dame lost to Marshall and to Stanford. Well, I'm telling you this, those 2 losses were flukes. Marshall,
and you know what would have happened?
Fluke.
We dominated Clemson. So therefore, Clemson wasn't that good in the national media's eyes and part of our fan base, right? Say we beat Clemson on the last-second field goal. Then the narrative is, well, Notre Dame got lucky. This game was at Notre Dame. Clemson had an off week. Then, say we get blown out by Clemson. Oh, Notre Dame just can't beat a top 5 team when it matters. Okay? So Notre Dame can't win in this situation. They can't. What do you want them to do? You notice how ESPN and part of our fan base always moves the goalpost further and further back. And it's like, okay, Notre Dame does what you want. We beat the crap out of a top 5 team at our place on national TV. Oh, well,
nothing's ever good enough.
You want a cookie for it, Notre Dame? Clemson wasn't really that good. But then you want to go suck off LSU for beating a now 2-loss Alabama team. Alabama is not the same Alabama. Let's just face it. Alabama has 2 losses. They realistically should have 3 if Texas's starting quarterback doesn't get injured.
Yeah.
So how come LSU gets the number 7 ranking and they have losses to Florida State and they got blown out by 4 touchdowns by Tennessee at home? But, oh my God, LSU is such an amazing team. If they went out, they should be in the playoff. But Notre Dame, you beat number 4 Clemson. Clemson just ain't that good.
You know why that is? It's because Alabama, despite them being a little down this year, they've been winning championships lately, and we haven't.
Mm-hmm.
That's why.
And it's also SEC bias as well.
Of course.
You'll never hear the national media say, well, Alabama just isn't that good this year.
Well,
you will never hear that.
And this is not because it's Brian Kelly, but you could look at LSU's schedule, and they could easily have more than 3 losses right now.
They almost lost to Auburn. They probably should have lost to Auburn if you actually watch that game.
Yeah. Exactly.
And who have they beaten? I mean, if LSU played Notre Dame's schedule right now, would you take LSU to beat Ohio State? At Ohio State? I wouldn't. I would probably take Ohio State to win that game. Let's see. Do you think LSU would beat North Carolina? You could argue that, but North Carolina's offense is a hell of a lot better than anybody that LSU's faced this year.
Yeah. North Carolina's offense is putting up stupid.
But LSU at Syracuse in that dome, they probably could win that game, but it'd be still a tough one. LSU against Clemson. I could argue Clemson might be able to win that game. The best team outside of Alabama that they have beaten is Mississippi State. Mississippi State has 4 losses. They have not played anybody besides Alabama and Tennessee. Okay, Florida State, but they lost to Florida State, who has, again, 3 losses. So I don't know. It's just frustrating to me. I don't think LSU is the seventh best team in the country.
No, I
And
don't
I
either.
and I Sean, tell me if you're with me. I want to play LSU so bad in a bowl game. I really do.
Well, it's funny that you bring that up because there was an argument on Twitter last night that I actually was a part of, and this one guy, I forget who it was, I forget what he calls himself, but he had a poll on his Twitter handle that said, "Would you rather?" And the two options were beat LSU in the Gator Bowl or beat Tulane in an NY6 bowl. And myself, I'll say it to
New
start
Year's
that
Six
off.
Bowl.
Yes, because even even though a lot of these players weren't alive when we last won one, because I think it was Tobias Merriweather who was questioned about this. He said, "Well, that game happened 10 years before I was born, so it doesn't really matter to me." And I'm like, "Well, okay, I get where he's coming from, but as a program overall, it does matter."
Mm-hmm.
And no, it may not be in that scenario. If we were somehow to make the Cotton Bowl and play against, say, a Tulane, and Tulane and Central Florida are playing this weekend, so that'll be something to
Handle
watch for.
itself.
Yeah, it's something to watch for as far as the best Group of 5 conference champion goes for that.
I've seen Notre Dame Liberty as well. Liberty is a team to watch out for too. They're 8-1. Just beat Arkansas at Arkansas. Team that probably should be ranked. But if UCF somehow beats Tulane, I've seen a lot of projections. Notre Dame plays Liberty in a few bowl games. So, which would be cool because those are two Christian universities or Catholic universities that are both independent. That'd be cool.
But anyway, I'm digressing a little bit. But no, it's just as far as major bowl games go, this would just be, breaking that streak, that unfortunate streak of not having won a major bowl game, NY6 game, BCS game, whatever you want to refer to it as. I just call it major bowl game. I'm talking about those big 6 bowls. Let's just win one of those first.
Yep.
I don't care who the opponent is. And no, a Tulane or a Central Florida might not look like the sexiest opponent to make that happen. And because people aren't going to want to.
People, what they're going to say that, you guys played a nobody.
Yep, exactly. But I don't care.
Yep.
I mean, it's not like it's not like there's bad football that comes out of the Group of 5. They have some good football in those.
Tulane went to Kansas State and beat them. I mean, they're a good football team. Tulane is a great football team.
And being a Bears fan, Matt Forte, the running back, came out of Tulane. But anyway, I digress with that. But the bottom line is the NY6 is what you shoot for. It's not like you're going to turn down an NY6 bowl bid to play in the Gator Bowl against LSU. And that's what the other option was. Would you rather beat Tulane in an NY6 bowl, or play Tulane in an NY6 bowl, or play LSU in the Gator Bowl?
My answer to that question, Sean, would be if we get invited to the New Year's Six Bowl, I'd love that.
Yeah.
But if for whatever reason we don't get picked, I would love to play LSU in a bowl game and beat the crap out of them.
Yes, that's the next best thing. I'm not saying that's crappy at all.
You know what? That would feel like a New Year's Six bowl game to me.
Yes.
Because you know what? We would prove Bayou Brian wrong that, hey, you went to LSU because you said you didn't have the talent here to win a national title. You know what? You don't have the talent there to beat Notre Dame.
Yeah, in that scenario, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that I would hate that. But of course, the point is,
New Year's Six is the goal.
I mean, if you get invited, you take it. Mm-hmm. I mean, who would turn down going to a bowl game? Because the opponent's not up to the people, or the 1% standards.
The best thing would be if we get to play LSU in a New Year's Six bowl game. That would, I know it probably won't happen, but that would be something to watch too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, and I just brought up, let's see, where was it at here? So this is, since we were talking about LSU, this is their remaining schedule. They play Arkansas this weekend.
Trap game right there.
Yep, trap Arkansas game. Then after that, it's the Alabama, Birmingham, was it the Blazers?
Yep.
And then they finish off the year at Texas A&M, and then after that would be the SEC championship.
Which, if they win out, I believe. So I think LSU, do they? I'm trying to think. Yeah, they already have a loss in conference. So I believe that if Ole Miss beats Bama this week, which I don't know, it could happen, but I don't think it'll happen. But say Ole Miss, for whatever reason, beats Bama. If LSU loses one of those 3 games, which is not likely, the Arkansas one's probably the most likely, if it does happen, then Ole Miss, I feel like, would get into the SEC championship. But either way, I don't know how the SEC tie-ins fit into bowl games. I don't really know how that works when it comes to
for the NY6. The NY6 is SEC versus Big 12. The Rose Bowl is Big 10 versus Pac-12, and then I think when it comes to the Orange Bowl has the option. It's the ACC champion for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's the ACC champion against their choice of Big 10, Big 10, SEC, or Notre Dame.
Okay.
But of course, it depends on rankings too.
Yeah. I don't know, man. And you know what? My buddy Lucas, because he's a big Oregon fan. He was telling me, he goes, dude, if Notre Dame goes 9-3, it would be blasphemous for the committee to keep them out of a New Year's Six, just because of how tough their schedule is.
Well,
it'd be tough to keep. I don't know. You'd have wins over number 4 Clemson. You'd have a win over number 8 USC. You would have an 11-point loss to probably the Big Ten champion Ohio State.
And then 16. And then Syracuse and BYU were both ranked 16th at the time when you beat them.
North Carolina you have a win under the number 15 team in the country.
Oh yeah, I forgot that.
Yeah,
I forgot that. So yeah, that's 5. Let's see. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it's 5 ranked opponents that you've beaten on your schedule.
And a lot of them were convincingly as well.
Yeah.
So, and you're only the only reason that they would probably keep them out is the Marshall and Stanford loss. But then you could also throw in, Notre Dame also lost to the Big Ten champs in Ohio State, who probably will be in the national title game this year. At least that's what I think will happen. I think Ohio State goes to the Natty. But I don't know, man. I could see the committee also holding Notre Dame back because of those losses, just because you know how it is against Notre Dame. But, man, Sean, I can't tell you how big of a win that Clemson win is. I really can't explain it.
Well, listen, I said in one of the videos that we just did, it's crazy to talk about it. It sounds crazy because we'd have 3 losses, but with this turnaround that we've been making since the Stanford loss, to actually somewhat have the NY6 back on the table for us to some degree, that's pretty incredible. And people got to look at that and be like, hey, okay, this is a Notre Dame team that started off the season rough, and they go on a nice little run there. They have another stumble against Stanford, but then they came back after that and have been playing very well.
It's almost like and you know what this does going forward into next year? You know how battle-tested this team is going to be when we face Ohio State in Notre Dame Stadium next year in week 2? That team is going to be so used to, and that's another thing. I know that we struggled against Stanford. We lost Stanford and Marshall. But look at how the team has responded to those 2 losses. And you know what's weird? The Brian Kelly era, it seemed like once things went bad and the team had to face adversity, it got worse. We've seen it in 2016. That team had a lot of high expectations. I don't know, man. I feel like the Freeman era has finally like something about that always Irish John had said. It seems like the Freeman era has been activated. Like it really does. It feels like we're finally under the Freeman era.
It took its time to get going, but it's finally arrived. At least that's how it looks, and I hope it stays that way. And actually, I'm glad you brought up Ohio State next year, because I got to say this too. I am so happy to be wrong about the crowd on Saturday night against Clemson. It was that actually looked, and even though I was watching at home, it felt like a home field advantage crowd.
I will say, I would have asked you this because I've seen it on the message boards. When you watch a Notre Dame home game, and like you watch a different game, say on ESPN or ABC, does it seem like on NBC that the crowd noise is a little bit
Exaggerated?
muted? No, muted.
Oh, muted?
Yeah, it's weird because I'll turn on the game on ABC and say, like, for instance, I was watching the FSU Miami game, and I stopped watching it after a while because it just got out of hand. But that crowd was electric, and you could hear it. And then it's like you turn in Notre Dame, and while I'm sure it was loud, a lot of people said it was really loud in person, but you just don't get that same noise from an ESPN broadcast to an NBC. And I don't know if it's because NBC like turns down the volume on the cameras or the microphones or whatever, but it just genuinely feels like it's not as loud.
It wouldn't surprise me if they did do that because for the announcers and making sure they can communicate and whatnot. But no, you saw on the sidelines after the game, and granted, I know the field was flooded with fans. I get that, but I mean, you could tell that it was loud, and it wouldn't.
Yeah.
If they had to make audio adjustments for the announcers and whatnot, that would not surprise me. They very well could do that.
Which if I'm Notre Dame, I'd say, hey, I understand you want the announcers to be heard, but that LSU game, I watched the end of it, the 2-point convert. You could not hear Kirk Herbstreit and Fowler over the roar of that LSU crowd. I think they said that crowd was so nuts that they actually caused a mini earthquake in Baton Rouge. I'm not even joking. I'm not joking. They caused a mini earthquake in Baton Rouge because of the sound and the jumping and everything in the stadium. It caused a little miniature earthquake.
No kidding.
Yeah, so I know Notre Dame Stadium can be loud. I've been to games at Notre Dame Stadium. I know it can be rocking, but you don't get the same vibe when you're watching it on TV.
No, you don't. And I don't know. I don't know what it is. Maybe ESPN and NBC, they're just two different types of broadcasts. I mean, maybe ESPN lets them flow a little more freely, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
While NBC, they want their announcers to be heard. I don't know. I can't give you a definite answer on that.
Another thing I wanted to bring up also, I don't know if you went to the Notre Dame YouTube after the game and were seeing all the videos they were posting. Can we talk about how, Freeman, he is a guy that loves being in the public eye. He loves celebrating with the fans. He understands what it's like, how big that win was. I think I seen something where Freeman didn't get home until 2 a.m.
Yeah,
and
I believe that.
He was celebrating with the fans on the field. He talked to the team in the locker room after the game. And then after the guys got all done with their press conference and everything after the game, they went back out onto the stadium concourse and were taking pictures with fans, celebrating.
I saw him giving high fives. Yeah, I saw that video.
And it's like, would you ever see Brian Kelly do that?
No, you wouldn't.
No.
They're just two different types of people. Brian Kelly's not a very personal person. Marcus Freeman is, and I've said that all along.
And you know what the best thing what says something about him as a person and a coach? He got home at 2 a.m. I'm sure most of us probably go to bed.
No,
well, not you, Sean. Not me either.
I was up. Well, you see, and you got to remember too. This was last weekend was daylight savings time, so we gained an hour of sleep.
Yeah,
I was and I hope my pastor's not watching this, but no, I was up till like 4 a.m. We
Oh,
were
yeah.
we were having some drinks, having a good time, and I was how should I say, a little hungover the next day.
Well, you know what?
But
The thing-
Marcus Freeman, this is a guy who's has a wife and 6 kids,
Mhm.
and he's not getting home till 2 a.m. So yeah,
But he got home, and the first thing he said when he walked to the door, he said, "Honey, I need you to put the kids away. If you can, put the kids to sleep, please. I got some film to watch." And he said he watched film until about 4 in the morning and then went to bed. And had phone calls with his coaches and what they needed to work on and what needs to get better. And it's like, you know how invested you have to be to do that? I mean, I understand that a lot of coaches do that, but I don't know. That just to me, when you have 6 kids and a wife and you just out till 2 a.m., that just shows how dedicated he is to the university.
well, at least his wife can know that he wasn't out partying with his friends or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you want to count all 80,000 plus people that were their friends, but yeah, he was. So no, Marcus Freeman, it got off to a rough start, and I know people were calling for him to be fired. Well, he's starting to make those people look like idiots now.
I think some of our fan base owes him an apology because I seen a lot of stuff on message. Oh, he's the next Charlie Wise. He's the next, was it Faust? He's the
Gary
next
Faust, yeah.
Yeah, Gary Faust. He's the next Tyrone Willingham, and it's like you guys said that after the Marshall loss. Calm down. And now it's like I've seen a lot of people. We owe him an apology, and you know what? Like I said before last week when we did our preview for Clemson, or not our preview for Clemson, our Irish Power. Give Tommy Rees some damn credit this week.
He does deserve it.
He does it.
He does. I mean, I said this in one of the last 2 videos. Obviously, you were there. Do I still think Tommy Rees should be on the hot seat?
Yeah.
Yes, but you always do this. If you are a classy person and a respectful person, then you give credit when it's been earned. And Tommy Rees, he put together one heck of a game plan on
He
Saturday.
said, you know what? And you know what? I don't know if you've seen the post on his Twitter after the game. He made hats for the guys during the week. And it said on the front of it, it said, "Run the damn fucking ball."
I didn't see it.
And he put that into their minds all week. And
Nice.
he said he was talking about his thing when Audric Estime and Diggs and Tyree would come to the sideline. They would be like, "Coach, we running it?" They're like, "All right, let's go. Run power. We're going to double team our blocks and we're going to run it straight up their throat." You know what?
It worked.
You know, when you have and they were talking about it on the broadcast, you've seen Audric Estime keep going, "All right, let's do it again. Let's run it again." They're not stopping it. Let's run it again.
Yeah, that's what you do. If something's working, you don't abandon it. You don't try to get cute and do something else. He finally got the clue. And I'm proud of Tommy for that. I'm happy for him that he did that. So I give him all the props in the world for Saturday night. That was,
you know what he deserves? He deserves criticism when he has a bad game.
Yes.
But like you said, a classy person, you give credit when it's due, and you give criticism when it is due.
That's having balance.
And you know what else? I kind of understand why I think Tommy struggled early in the year, because if you look at his offense, he likes running the ball. And then he's a quarterback, obviously, so he likes to throw the ball. We've seen it at times how many times through the years did we see Ian Book do play action and throw it deep to like a Claypool or somebody like that? I think that's what Tommy wants to run, but I think it took him a little while to kind of understand that, hey, Pine can't do that for you. He has limitations. He can't throw the ball for you 30 times and have success. And he needs credit for finally, coming up with that and be like, okay.
And speaking of, sorry, go.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, since you brought up Drew Pine, hey, I just saw a comment, but I want to get to my point first. Everybody needs to stop jumping on Drew Pine. And I'm not saying he shouldn't get criticism either, like everybody else on the team, coaches, players, and so on. But everybody, I'm still hearing people saying, get Pine out of there, bench Pine. He had a 9 for 19 line, blah, 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 blah.
He got the game ball.
Well, for starters, yeah. Well, for starters, when your running game was working the way it was, you don't need to be passing. But I'm not even just talking about the Clemson game on Saturday. I'm talking about overall. And listen, the fact is this. All the people calling for Drew Pine to be benched and to put in somebody else, listen, I know that Drew Pine is not elite. I know that he's not going to get us to a national championship. He's not the quarterback to do that. But for this season and the particular situation that we are in right now, Drew Pine gives us the best. He is our best option. So you know what? This is where he needs all the backing in the world.
And you know what? It's frustrating because I seen even people still after the game saying, "Well, do you think that Freeman will bench Pine and start in Jelly for the next couple games to see what we have?" And
I saw
why? Why?
If listen in these last 3 games, and this is nothing against Steve Angeli, I'm sure he's a good quarterback, but
he's a true freshman and hasn't played very much.
The only time I want to see Steve Angeli in the game is if we're already up big and it's time for him to get some work in. But I'm sorry, Drew Pine is your best option right now. He's the best with what we have to work with. Okay. And people say start Angeli, like you said. First off, he's a true freshman, as you just pointed out, obviously.
He's never thrown a pass in college yet.
He's not ready. And then behind him, there ain't much.
Ron Paulus is the next guy, and he's a walk-on.
Yes, Ron Paulus. And I'm sorry, I said this to somebody on Twitter, and these people in the 1% that say all this crap, they just don't seem to get it. Ron Paulus III, and I'm sorry, I'm not trying to put him down.
His dad was a great player.
He's not like his dad.
No.
He's not like his dad. So the quarterback room is very bare behind Drew Pine. Okay, so Drew Pine, he's had the most experience coming into this season ahead of either of those guys, which obviously Steve Angeli's a given because actually they're both true freshmen.
Yeah, both of them are.
Yeah, so behind Buckner, the only one who had experience on the field was Drew Pine. So he is the best option that you have. So everybody needs to just stop bitching and demanding that Pine be benched.
And the fact that I just don't understand. I would understand benching Pine and seeing what you have in Angeli if you were having like a 3-6 season or like a 2-7 type, because you're not playing for anything. At that point, you're looking to the future. But you just beat Clemson.
And you're not gonna bench Drew Pine when you're 6-3. And as you started to say, you're not gonna bring Angeli in, not when you're 6-3 and might possibly have a chance to go to a major bowl game.
Mm-hmm. You're not going to do that.
I'm not saying that New Year's Six bowl bid is a guarantee. I'm not. But with the ranking that we got in the college football playoff at number 20, with 3 weeks to play, including championship week, I mean, there's a lot of shit that could happen in these next 4 weeks that could vault us up. And if we go 9-3 and win out.
And also, you want Tommy to prove what he can do and to, get off the hot seat. You want to win games. That's how you do that. That is how you do that. And they're not. I just don't understand the whole. Well, we need to see what we have in Angeli because Buckner's not the. You don't know how many things I've seen on the message boards bashing Tyler Buckner and saying that he's not the guy. Notre Dame needs to get 2 transfer quarterbacks. We need the backup quarterback from Michigan. He'd be better than anybody we have right now. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, guys, Buckner started 1.5 games. His first start was on the road at Ohio State. Yes, he played bad against Marshall, but maybe that was because the offensive line was terrible that game. Pine didn't play very good either. His first throw was an interception for a pick 6. Like, let's calm down about Buckner because he was still a highly rated recruit. Yes, do we need to go get maybe a transfer if we don't get a quarterback in the class?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was gonna say some depth in that quarterback room wouldn't hurt.
But I still think you have not seen enough of Buckner to say whether he's good or bad.
I
We've
agree.
seen Pine. We've seen Pine for what? 7 games now? So we kind of have a good idea of who Pine is as a quarterback. He's a
Yes.
game manager who's not going to turn the ball over. He's going to take care of the ball. He can't make the deep throws consistently that you need. But like I said, he's a game manager. He's a guy that won't lose you a game, but he's not going to go out there and win you a game. Which right now, that's what you need when you got a running back like Audric Estime and Logan Diggs. You don't need a guy that's going to throw the ball over the place right now.
No, you got that three-headed monster that's really clicking right now, and they're getting it done. And so that's what I was trying to explain to this one person on Twitter is like, okay, yeah, Pine was 9 of 19 for like 85 yards or whatever it was in 1 touchdown. Well, when you have, like I said, when you have a running game that is just killing it, then you're not going to see a lot of passing. So that's just how it goes. That's just.
Did you see how shocked? I don't know if you heard Michael Mayer and Pine talk about that throw that got Mayer the record. And he was like, Pine, because he has that thing in his headset or in his helmet, tells him what the play is. And Tommy said, all right, we're going to throw it to Mayer. And Pine looked at Tommy, and he actually looked at him and goes, wait, really? We've been running the ball this entire drive. I'm not handing it to Audric. And Tommy's like, no, we're going to throw it to Mayer. And then Pine looks at Mayer and goes, I guess we're throwing it. He goes, oh, we're throwing it? I thought we were going to run the ball this entire drive. He's like, okay. And then Pine's like, okay, I guess. And then Pine threw him the touchdown. He's like, hey, I guess we were throwing the ball, huh?
It was a nice throw too. It looked sharp. But I guess to move on here real quick, I guess we should talk a little bit about Navy because we got less than 20 minutes left.
Yeah.
But there's not much really to say about
Navy. We talked about it a lot in our preview, but
yeah, it's just the triple option. It's a bitch to go up against. And I did see a little bit in your guys' show today. You actually had somebody picking Navy.
Yeah, we had a guy say that Navy because it's a trap game. The last time Notre Dame played in Maryland, we lost. So
yeah, that's true.
That was the 2016 season.
Yeah, and that was a disastrous season anyway. So I mean, the season was already pretty much lost by the point we played them that year. Not saying that doesn't mean anything. I just,
yeah, we weren't really playing for nothing then.
Yeah, it's just at that point it was just getting guys experience and getting them on the field. But no, I agree. This technically is a trap game. There's been plenty of times, we've dominated Navy plenty of times, but there's also been plenty of times where we've struggled against that option. And that, not to mention, as we said in the preview, that Navy always has a special package for Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm. And from what I've heard, Keaton Montalolo is on the hot seat. So, Navy has been down the last couple of years. They haven't been very good. I believe they've lost to Army the last 4 of the last 5 times. So that's going down the drain for them. So they've got something to prove. He's going to be coaching for his job these last 3 games.
And it's a shame, too, because, he actually kind of brought Navy back and actually made them into a pretty decent team. And, they're playing in a conference now for football, the American Athletic. And, for a while there, they were beating some good teams. And even this year, as I said in our preview, looking at some of the games they played and lost, those games could easily be reversed right now. They could easily be a 6 or 7 win team.
I believe they lost by 10 or 3 to SMU. And I don't know if any of you watched the SMU game or seen stuff about it last week, but SMU and Houston just played the highest scoring football game in college football history, regulation-wise.
Oh,
it was 83 to 77. So
you're not looking at basketball scores, are you?
No. SMU scored 11 touchdowns. So
good Lord. Oh, it's like what are they doing? Are these schools recruiting high school backups for defense or what?
I don't think they care about defense anymore. They're probably like,
I know that's how it usually works in the Big 12, but
SMU is joining the Big 12, so that's probably why.
But I was getting back to the point here. I don't know if you should really put Ken Niumatalolo on the hot seat, but I get it. The expectations are a little higher since they are in a conference now and they want to win conference championships. And of course, that Navy Army game, you want to win that bad. I mean, that's
really all that matters. That's their Super Bowl right there.
Yeah, But no, getting back to the game, there's not much more else to say. I mean, if you got it, we have to shut down that triple option because that's basically, that's what the triple option is designed for, is to go get 4 yards of play, milk the clock as much as you can, wait till like 2 seconds to snap the ball, gain 4 more yards, and repeat. Mm-hmm. And it can be a bitch to.
Oh, it's going to be. It's going to be.
That guys on defense can get frustrated. And it's just not to mention the offensive line for them blocking. I mean, they're going for the legs because the military academies, they have a weight limit that they have to maintain. So that's the only thing that these guys can do is go for the legs.
And you know what? That's the thing is we've seen throughout the years that Notre Dame has some injuries in these games because of that reason. And you know what? If I'm Notre Dame, I would try to limit injuries as much as possible, which helps because you do have 3 backs that can do it. So that helps, keep them, fresh, not so we don't have a guy like Hiron that would take 30 attempts in a game. But if I'm Notre Dame, it's the same game plan that you've run the last couple weeks. Like you said, Navy has a weight limit. Notre Dame's O-line is probably going to outweigh them by a pretty big margin. Run it down their throat. Give them a taste of their own medicine. Pound them.
That's what I was going to say. As long as our offense doesn't play down to them, we're good to go on offense. It's just, the defense you got to be careful with. Because, I mean, it's not just us. Mm-hmm. I guarantee you any team that plays Navy or any of the military academies, but just right now it seems like in recent history, Navy's been the strongest. I mean, obviously that's not the case this year.
Air Force is probably the best team right now.
And I don't know what Army's been doing, but every time you play, but since we're talking about just Navy, I guarantee you every team that plays them comes out with some guys banged up.
Oh yeah. And not only that, like I said, they played SMU tough. A lot of every team that they've played on the schedule, I believe except one, the games were not blowouts. They were very close games. And they've held teams to well below their season averages in offense. So this is going to be a slugfest early. I expect it to be a slugfest, and I don't really expect a lot of throwing the ball.
From either side or just Navy? Because with Navy, we know that's not going to happen.
Either side. If I'm Tommy Reese, I'm making the offensive linemen and the whole team wear the run the damn fucking ball hats this week. But anyway, I was also going to say, you think we get another blocked punt this week?
I don't know. There should be an under/over for that alone. It's looking good.
I hope so, but I'm sure Navy's probably going to do that rugby style punt that Clemson did after the first one. But
I'm glad you brought that up too, because I gotta tell you, it's amazing. A lot of these guys that come to American universities from Australia, and it makes sense that they are the team's punter.
Yeah.
Because have you ever seen Australian rules football or any clips of it?
Yeah, I have.
That's pretty much all they do is punt, but they're on the run in that game, in that sport constantly.
Mm-hmm.
Like I say, it's pretty fun to watch though.
But you know what? Besides the rushing attack for Notre Dame this year, I've never actually been excited to watch punts ever since Notre Dame hasn't really had a dynamic punt returner in a while.
Yeah.
But I get excited every time I'm like, oh, okay, the other team's punting. And it's like you hear the fans, especially against Clemson, you hear the, and they're like, oh, he almost got it again.
Well, it's become a trend now to block punts.
You can say Notre Dame's the number 1 team in the country in blocked punts.
Yes. Yes. And as far as Navy goes, I mean, I think we'll be fine. As long as you can get Navy off the field quick and get it going on offense, we'll be fine. But
like I said, the
yeah.
key is I just hope that Notre Dame and the players, which I think they have learned their lesson about sleeping on teams and sleepwalking into games.
Yeah, and now we're at the point. It's like if you want to get to a big game in the postseason, then this is where you shine. And the next 2 weeks are going to be about style points for
I
sure.
would hope that I really hope this is a blowout game, and then we can give Angeli some time.
Yes,
I really hope so.
yeah. You need to get some playing time for your backups, and of course, like we said, Angeli's been one of the most talked about. So let's see him. Let's see him do more than just hand off a couple times like he did against
The Syracuse game and the UNLV game.
So, all right. Well, you ready to answer some questions?
Yep.
All right. Well, 10 minutes to go. We'll get some questions answered. So, Golden Playbook says, I think we'll beat Navy as long as we play like we did against Clemson. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
And Sean K 2007 says, where was this damn Irish team? I know, right? It's been like Jekyll and Hyde.
They've shown flashes of it.
He also says they are kind of having the same problems Notre Dame has. Just won the games there. This was in regards to Clemson. Just won the games they were supposed to, and we didn't. Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's the thing. Clemson found a way to win those tight ones that they had with all their opponents before us.
Mm-hmm.
He says maybe Clemson wasn't that good. Either way, we'd be number 5.
Yep.
See, it doesn't matter if you feel it. No, I'm not saying you personally, Sean. I'm just talking in general. Just because you don't feel that a team is deserving of their ranking doesn't mean that they haven't done something to earn it. That's what they are, and it's not like they haven't. You can't take something away from somebody just because they haven't exactly played the way you thought they would play.
Mm-hmm.
So, don't forget, guys. Nobody gets punished for a bad loss more than Notre Dame, and we've got 2. Yes, I know. That's gonna come into question without a doubt. That's
what's sad too, Sean. It starts getting on my mind as the season goes on. If Notre Dame would have just somehow, even if they would have beat Marshall or Stanford by a point, Notre Dame would be probably a top 6 team right now, and have a shot at the playoffs.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, they would.
Now, do I think I would probably want us to be in the playoff with Pine? Because I don't think that we could probably compete with Georgia.
It'd be hard.
It'd be tough. But I mean, that's the other thing. I'd be more happy with the New Year's Six bowl game this year, just based on the quarterback situation and everything like that. I'd be more okay with that than going to the playoff and getting beat.
Well, of course. I mean, you always take the playoff bid if you get it.
Mm-hmm.
But I get where you're coming from, though.
Like if we had Buckner and he was, healthy and had progressed, and started showing signs, then I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm excited. But it's like because of the injuries to that position, and we've seen what Pine is, I just wouldn't feel too good. I'd be happy that we made the playoff, but I just wouldn't be too ecstatic about our chances, if that makes sense.
Right. No, the odds would be against us for sure, without question. I've never denied that. It'd be tough, and we'd have everything against us. But just, I'm not going to be like these people who actually complain.
Oh no,
I'm not. And you're not. I'm not saying you're one of those people. But the people that were complaining when we made the Rose Bowl against Alabama in the playoffs, and there was actually a footage of this woman huffing and puffing when it was announced. It's like, what fan base does that? You make the playoffs and you don't want it. That just
you
seems...
know what? I went to the Alabama Notre Dame playoff game in 2020, and did I think Notre Dame was going to win? I was hoping they would, but I didn't. I didn't go into that game thinking, "Oh, Notre Dame's going to win this game." I was hoping because I'm a fan, and I'm always going to root for my guys.
Yeah.
But realistically, I didn't think that it was going to be really hard to beat Alabama.
Of course it was going to be hard. I mean, but that's the thing. That's why it's the playoffs. It's not going to be easy, and people need to realize that.
And Notre Dame's not the only team that's gotten embarrassed in the playoff or blown out. Almost every year there are 2 teams or 1 team at least that gets blown out in the playoff. So
yeah. So I don't know why everyone's harping on us about it, or giving us a hard time about it. We're not, like you said, we're not the only ones. It's just Notre Dame hate. We all know
Yeah.
that. Let's see. So where were we at here? Okay, back to Golden Playbook. He keeps us busy with the comments. I like that. This is referencing Navy. They're definitely going to give us problems. The option is hard to stop. We will stop them, but it will be tough. Yeah, it's not going to be easy. It's not. I agree. And then he says, I think Notre Dame will win. And I just think they will struggle against the option for. Well, yeah, it's going to
Yeah.
take getting used to at the beginning of the game.
I had said that I think it's going to be a close game early on, and I think Notre Dame pulls away. Because people got to remember this is a rivalry game. Like, people get up to play Notre Dame regardless, but this is a rivalry game. You don't think Navy is doing this with the opportunity to beat Notre Dame?
Yeah.
So.
Well, there's always a special package that they keep just for us. I've said that many times over the year, but I can't say enough because it needs to be embedded. So anyway, Sean K says, I think this is in regards to the Baton Rouge and their stadium causing an earthquake or something.
So I'm not impressed.
Yeah, he says, yeah, but so did Garth Brooks when he played, calling Baton Rouge, so I'm not impressed.
Oh, he's talking about the earthquake.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you're saying that when Garth Brooks played Baton Rouge,
a mini earthquake.
Okay.
I don't know if it's something with LSU Stadium. Maybe it's not structurally sound.
I don't know. Golden Playbook says, but we'll stop it. But we'll stop it. People need to quit hating on us. There is people believing that Navy is going to beat us. People are haters. They need a brain check. I know you never know what can happen, but still, well, we're looking at it from both perspectives. Like we just said, Navy is a rival to Notre Dame. They've had our number a few times in recent history.
This is what's called the trap game.
Yes.
You have those in college football.
Sean K says, in regards to the criticism about Tommy Rees and the players, shouldn't Freeman get the same thing when they lose? Of course he should.
Yes, Absolutely. Freeman should, but he's also a first-year head coach, and when you have situations like that, a lot of times especially since Tommy's been there for 3 years, he's obviously going to get more criticism. It's like, Sean, you're working at a job and you got a guy that's a rookie and he's coming into the job and he messes up and you mess up. Who do you think is going to get more criticism? The guy that's been working there for 3 years or the guy that just started working there?
Yeah, the guy with the experience.
Yep.
On the next comment here from Sean again, Pine is carrying a big load for a kid who wasn't supposed to be. Exactly. He was not supposed to be the starter. He was thrown into this, and yeah, so Walter says, feels good that I tested negative and got to go to the game. I owe my cousin big time. It was awesome to rush the field. I think Notre Dame can win out, and I think they will win out. I hope so too, Walter, and good that you got to go to the game. I'm glad. Sean says, why don't people understand that because of academics, Notre Dame is so hard to transfer to? So the transfer portal isn't the same for us. Well, maybe not, but I mean, we've gotten some guys that have came in and have been a big help. I mean,
there are a lot of guys right now that I would love to see at Notre Dame go after in the transfer portal. Notre Dame just needs to go after grad transfers because that way you don't need to care. You don't really care about their academics since they've already graduated. They can just go wherever.
Well, I mean, Ben and I crapped all over Jack Cohn, who was a graduate transfer with us last year, and he actually turned out to have a pretty good season. It's just when he made mistakes, they were mistakes that stuck out ridiculously, and that's what we hammered him on.
When we get off here, Sean, there's a kid I want you to look up. He's the starting quarterback for Kent State. He's a senior, and he's averaging like 5 touchdown passes a game, and he has really good stats. He's a he could be a grad transfer this year. And a lot of Kent State fans think that he's going to transfer somewhere after the season because he wants to go, play at on a bigger spotlight.
Right.
I've watched him the last couple weeks because Kent State, for whatever reason, they play their Maction games on Tuesday or Wednesdays.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that's a kid I've really impressed. He's a 6'6" quarterback, strong arm, and he's mobile. I don't know if Notre Dame. I would love Notre Dame to kick the tires on that.
So we can't just go get a quarterback. Well, like Ryan just said, I mean, there's some, you focus more on the grad transfers, but I don't know. He is right Sean is right when he says it's different for us,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not exactly extremely hard either.
Mm-hmm.
So,
JT Daniels would be as a really good quarterback. He could transfer to Notre Dame. He went to Modern Day. He definitely would have the academics to do that.
oh yes, I agree. Walter says Estime will be a Heisman candidate next year. I'm taking my cousin who took me to the Clemson game to BC and will be 7 rows up from the field. Cool, Walter.
Estimate. I was actually going to mention that this week. Estime looks like a future Heisman candidate.
He could if he keeps.
He reminds me. I don't know if his body type and the way he runs reminds me a lot of Josh Adams.
Yeah,
he had his Heisman campaign.
Yes, I have the trucking. What was his number?
33.
I have the trucking 33 shirt. Golden Playbook says people were hating before the Clemson game. No one giving us a chance, but look what happened. We dominated them. Yes.
Yep.
The 2016 Navy game was in Jacksonville. Okay.
Yep.
But the last time we did play in Baltimore, we did lose. That was just in general. I think that was to Navy too. I'm sure. We've been trapped twice this year. I hope to God we don't get trapped again. I agree. I can understand why people think we will lose because of what happened in the Marshall game and Stanford game. But after all, we do play better on the road, and Notre Dame will beat Navy in my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't want to get extremely cocky because when I do,
I don't either. I don't want to say anything because I always believe in jinxing. Because after we went on that 2-game run where we beat UNC and BYU, I started talking like, oh, we're going to run all over Stanford, and it backfired. So right now at this team, I'm just saying, you know what? Week to week.
Yes. What? Ken Niumatalolo, I have a lot of respect for him. I want him to succeed, except when they play the Irish. He might be my favorite opposing coach of all time. Yeah, he's a player's coach, and he's a good person for sure. Oh shoot, wrong one. Audric said in the press conference that they cannot play down to the other opponents. That's a great sign that yes, I get it. I get it. I agree with that too. It's nice to see that there's somebody finally getting it, that openly said it. This tells me that Notre Dame is hungry and is going to play. I sure hope so. This is an interesting question. I saw this earlier. Do you guys think it's better for Tommy to be on the sidelines with the players and other coaches to communicate with the quarterback easier instead of being in the booth?
No, I think he's in the booth because it's easier to communicate through the headset. That's what I believe. Because it's a lot harder when you're like on the sidelines and you've got people talking to you and stuff like that. So I think that's why he's like that.
Do we think it could be easier if he was on the sidelines?
I just don't think he'd ever do it because of the way that scan offense he runs.
Yeah.
Because he has to be in the box to see everything that the defense is doing. So I think it might be a good option, but I don't think he'd ever do it just because of the offense he wants to run.
I don't think Navy will pass neither. Will Notre Dame? I think we should run it down their throats like we did against Clemson. Yeah, keep going with that shit, man. Mm-hmm. Don't change course when you're heading in the right direction. But no, the only time Navy will pass in this game is if they absolutely have to or on a trick play. Let's see. It was great to see changes. Freeman getting on the refs and him getting fired up. That's great. Yes, I agree.
Oh, speak really quick because I do got to go here soon.
Yeah, we're all down to one more comment after this. So
can I talk about that hit on Drew Pine that definitely should have been targeting, but was not, and then also the fact that the refs called 3 straight pass interferences that were not.
Oh, that was horrible.
In my opinion, the refs did that because, for one, they're ACC refs, and 2, they wanted Clemson to get on the board. I know that probably doesn't mean much, but at the time it was still 21-0, with I believe 14 minutes left in the fourth. And even I remember who was it they had on, Mike Pereira or whatever, and he said neither of those were PIs.
They weren't even touched. There was no contact.
But the hit on Pine, I'm more mad about because, to me, that's what targeting is for. I mean, that was a blatant late hit. hit him straight in the helmet. And did you see how hard Pine hit the turf?
Yes. I mean, what a load of crap. But I mean, I can't complain about penalties now, but it's like, if you're so worried about head injuries, then start enforcing it. I mean, it couldn't be more clear that it was helmet to helmet. If that's what the rule is, then you better start calling it.
And Notre Dame's been effed over a lot of times this year with calls that should have been targeting, and even calls that weren't targeting that were called on us. And I'm glad that Freeman got hot at the refs after that play and said, "No, you need to look at that. You need to look at that because that just."
But
and
they still screwed it up though.
Yeah, because remember
Even
they
when they did
reviewed
look
it and
at
said, yeah. But in my opinion, Clemson started playing a little dirty towards the end because they were getting frustrated. And
Oh, that started at halftime with the one dude pushing our guy into the ground. You could tell they were already frustrated. So
I don't respect teams like that. I really don't.
Nope, I don't either. Well, I mean, actually, I can't just blame the whole team for one bad apple, but I mean, yeah. Let's see, where was that? Let's see, we got that one. Golden Playbook says, I think Freeman is starting to get used to the coaching job, and players are getting used to his style now. They were so used to the way Brian Kelly used to do it. Yeah, like we said earlier, they're clicking as a team here.
Mm-hmm. They really are. I mean, like I said, Freeman era has officially been activated.
Golden Playbook says, I'm not saying just do runs the whole time. You got to mix it up, of course, but if running is working, no, we knew what you were saying.
I also do like when we ran power, like we ran it, I believe it seemed like 40 times. I liked that Tommy, to kind of keep the defense honest, he would send Tobias or Braden Lindsay or Mayer or even like Chris Tyree in motion to kind of dress it up, to put a little window dressing on it just in case the defense tried selling out in the run. Like, we weren't just running the same play. Like, we were running the same play, but we were like changing the formations, how we ran it, how our guys blocked. So that way it didn't give Clemson the opportunity to say, oh, let's put 8 guys in the box. They had to play the shift and whether or not they knew it was going to come,
I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at you.
No, you're good.
The spam is here. Hot girls here.
Oh my God. I get that. We get that during our show all the time.
Where are they? Let's have. I want to see them. I'm gonna block this user. I don't want it to be a reoccurring habit. All right, a couple more comments, then we're gonna call it quits here, guys. Hey, Bob Walker, we gotta make sure he gets his comment in. Navy defense plays well against the run, but terrible against the pass. I think Tommy R will run play action and get Drew Pine into a rhythm with short, quick passes. It's a pretty good strategy, Bob. Navy does have a history of stopping the run pretty well, but we said earlier we have three very talented running backs. Obviously, Audric Estime is the absolute beast. So I don't know if they've seen anybody like our guys before.
Oh, I don't think so. Like I said, Audric Estime, he is a baby bus. So
yes, and actually, it's ironic. Jerome Bettis' kid is looking at Notre Dame.
Yeah, he was at the game. I think he's a 2025 recruit. He doesn't look anything like his dad. He doesn't have the big old shoulder boulders, but I'm sure Jerome Bettis Sr. is going to get him in the weight room before he gets to Notre Dame.
For sure. Question to both of us. Do you guys think Ian Book was a great quarterback, or do you guys think he was average? Well,
I'll let you go first, Sean.
Okay, I was gonna say, do you want to go first or me? But look, I don't think that Ian Book was elite. But you look at his numbers in the time that he started for us, he did pretty damn good.
I think he's the best Notre Dame quarterback I've seen since Brady Quinn. I'll say that.
I agree with that hands down. Brady Quinn was something special, and Ian Book did something special too.
The plays that Ian Book made when he was at Notre Dame, starting with that pass to, oh God, who was it? Why am I going blank here? Oh my god. The wide receiver in the LSU bowl game who caught that one-handed pass.
Oh, Miles Boykin.
Yes. What the play that he did against North Carolina where he looked like Johnny Manziel and ran like 20 yards side to side and then flipped it, I believe, to Mayer for a first down. He was something special. Even that drive I remember against Clemson to go tie the game up. A lot of Notre Dame fans crap on him because he couldn't really perform well in those games in the playoff, which I don't think was all his fault. I think it was a mixture of Brian Kelly playing scared and Tommy Rees not opening up the playbook.
That's where you should open the playbook.
But to me, Ian Book was really great. He wasn't elite, but he's better. He's the best quarterback. He might be the third best quarterback in Notre Dame history, in my opinion.
Well, we've had some
great ones, but he holds, I'm pretty sure, most of, if not all of the Notre Dame passing records. So,
yeah, I mean, you have Joe Montana, Joe Theismann. Well, actually, his real name is pronounced Theismann, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah, he just started calling himself Joe Theismann for his Heisman run. So Joe Heisman.
Yep.
But yeah, Brady Quinn, and then who was another good one? Ron
Sean
Paulson.
Kaiser was good for at least a year.
Yeah, and then Ron Paulus, he was good in his day. Tony Rice.
Tony Rice too. Special. I would say Ian Book because I know Joe was really good in the NFL, but if I remember correctly, I don't believe he had like gaudy stats at Notre Dame in college. He was more of like an NFL guy, kind of like a late bloomer. Mm-hmm. Ian Book was just consistently great through 3 years of being a quarterback, which a lot of Notre Dame quarterbacks that, names that we brought up had maybe 1 or 2 great years of production, but they weren't like great from start to finish through their career.
Yes.
So I think you got to give Book some credit for that. And you know what? You don't have, with all those names that you just mentioned, you don't break records at Notre Dame, pass all the passing records at Notre Dame if you're not somewhat of a good quarterback.
Absolutely. And these are the last 2 comments that we'll finish off with. Bob Walker says, Navy has not played a team with a huge O-line, 3 great backs, and speed on defense. I believe the Irish will ball out and take care of Navy. I hope so too, Bob. Mm-hmm. And I have confidence that they will, but it's just, we're just both trying to keep our
expectations down.
Yeah. Keep ourselves grounded.
Yep.
And this is the last question before we sign off. What do you think the chances are Notre Dame goes to a conference? Asks Sean K. 2007. I've heard it's really hard to get a read on this. I don't know. I think with the college football playoff announcing that they're going to 12 teams as early as 2024.
And Notre Dame can't get a bye because if they're not in a conference.
Well, I don't know if they've made that part official yet because they still got to.
No. It's official. The guidelines for it. Yeah, so the guidelines for it is if the top 6 seeds are reserved for the top 6 conference champions. That way you get the best power. So you get Pac-12, Big 12, Big 10, ACC, and
the 5 Power 5 champions.
Yep, and then you have the best group of 5 conference champion,
and the other 6 are wild cards.
Yep. So, and the only way Notre Dame could get a bye is if they were in the top 4 conference champions, which they can't. So therefore, Notre Dame can't even be higher than a 7th seed, even if they were undefeated. So I feel like that's eventually going to force Notre Dame into a conference.
And of course, who knows? I mean, this is still a couple years away. A couple
2024.
Years away.
Yep.
2024 is the earliest, and they're looking to get it there that quick. And who knows? There could be discussions. There could be changes made to that rule. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But I guess I would say that there's a 60-40 chance that 60% saying they don't, 40% saying that they do. That's where I stand.
Where would you prefer they go, ACC or Big 10?
Well, the funny thing is, it depends which of the Power 5 conferences are still around. I mean, you got all these the landscape of realignment and stuff. And
Well, it
teams
looks like the
moving.
Pac-12 is kind of staying pat. They've kind of survived the storm. The ACC, they have that thing against Clemson where if Clemson leaves, because they signed a 10-year contract with the ACC. So if Clemson leaves, I believe they have to pay some of like a couple $100 million to get
Well,
out of that.
the thing is, for a conference to completely dissolve, all it takes is 8 teams to vote against the grant of rights or whatever. So
Which I
basically,
don't think anybody will, because a lot of the ACC teams that wouldn't be leaving, like Duke and all of them, said that they're completely against if Clemson, because Clemson's talked to the other ADs about it, and Clemson is getting a lot of pushback on it because the ACC has a lot of history,
yeah,
like not just in football but basketball as well. And I just don't think Clemson would have the balls to do it, if that makes sense, because I feel like
yeah,
they would get so much hate for it.
yeah. Well, and that's the thing. The choice. I don't have to have a choice in or answer that question, because if the ACC stands pat and Notre Dame decides to join a conference, then under their contract they would have to join the ACC.
At least I think they're what is it run out in 2026,
2036
2030. Oh, was that for Notre Dame? I thought Notre Dame
for
had a
Notre Dame.
separate deal.
Okay. Well, they have a deal with their deal is with the ACC, and that includes their other sports as well.
Oh, okay. So yeah,
Because
2036.
now they're in the ACC for everything else except hockey, because hockey's set up a lot differently.
It's Big Ten, I believe, right?
Yeah, they're in the Big Ten for hockey, and I think that's because they're the only team in the ACC that has a hockey team.
But I do want to say, because I gotta go now. One more thing. The thing with the Big Ten just makes more sense. You got USC now in there, so you'd have, and they're trying to get Stanford to come. So you'd have most of Notre Dame's rivals in that conference. It would make sense from a geographical standpoint because Notre Dame recruits against Ohio State a lot for Midwestern kids. And then the last thing is the Big Ten has already explained to Notre Dame that, hey, we understand you've got this rights deal with the ACC. If you come to the Big Ten, not only will we outbid NBC for the rights to, have your football program, but we will also pay for all of the millions of dollars that you would owe the ACC to get out of that deal. So basically, Notre Dame would be able to just leave the ACC, join the Big Ten for free. It wouldn't cost Notre Dame a dime. The Big Ten is really trying everything they can to get Notre Dame.
Oh yeah, I've been keeping tabs on it. So what are the chances that they join a conference, do you think?
I think they join within the next 5 or 6 years. I just think with the way
they will join some conference.
I think it's just a matter of time. I think NBC and the Big Ten have kind of had their little, affair, if you want to call it, because now the Big Ten is making it to where Notre Dame will no longer be able to have exclusive NBC coverage. They've already signed a rights deal with the Big Ten. So Notre Dame's home games now will have to be at 12 or 3:30 because the Big Ten is already, starting in 2024, all of the Big Ten primetime games will be on NBC. So the Big Ten's also trying to be a snake and try to wrap around what Notre Dame likes to do, which have the NBC exclusivity.
Well, and either way, I mean, Notre Dame could still play their games at nights.
But it would I don't know if they'd have to get rid of the NBC deal then, because they couldn't have it on NBC. It would have to be either on Peacock, which or it would have to be.
So that's for sure. The Big Ten, the prime matchup would be at night.
Every weekend, the Big Ten.
So Notre Dame could no longer play in the evening.
If they do, it would have to be an away game. That
would suck. Because we already had that enough for years where there were no night games at Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
And that would kind of suck.
That would kind of force Notre Dame's hand as well, I feel like.
Yeah. And one last comment before you go. Where was it? I like this. Sean says, I'd love to watch Notre Dame smoke Iowa.
If Iowa can even get to a bowl game, they're 4-5 right now. So
Yeah, there's a part of Iowa that I can't stand. So, all right. Well, look, that's a good place to leave it for this week. Thank you all for joining us here on the Notre Dame Football Power Hour. And with that said, I'm ND Sean 45.
And I'm Ryan, Week Zero Productions for Vel.
Make sure you guys go check out Ryan's channel, Week Zero Productions. And on that note, good night, God bless, and go Irish.
Go Irish.